He slammed the hood shut so hard the sound echoed through the empty garage. Elias Carter's breath came out sharp, fogging in the cool evening air as he wiped grease across his forearm. The day had been slow, painfully slow. The kind of slow that made a man count every hour, every dollar, every unpaid bill sitting in a stack on the corner of his desk. He glanced at the clock. 6:47 p.m. Closing time. He should have been heading home. But home didn't feel like rest anymore. Home felt like another place where the wait waited. His phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then a third time. Elias stared at the screen and his stomach tightened before he even answered. "Hey, baby," he said, forcing warmth into his voice. On the other end, Lena's voice trembled. "Dad." He straightened immediately. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, and that hesitation told him everything. "I didn't want to call," she whispered. "I know you're already doing so much, but the tuition office emailed again." Elias closed his eyes. The words hit like a punch. "They said if the payment isn't in by tomorrow afternoon, I can't register for next semester." Silence filled the garage, heavy and suffocating. Elias swallowed hard. "How much are we short?" 2,000, Lena said quickly, almost apologetic. "I've been working extra shifts, I swear. I'm trying, Dad. I just..." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to lose school." Elias gripped the edge of the workbench so tightly his knuckles went pale. "You're not going to lose anything," he said, steady but low. "Do you hear me?" "Dad." "I said you're not," he repeated. "I'll figure it out." He heard her sniffle. "You always say that." "And I always do," he replied, even though fear crawled up his spine. He didn't know how. But he couldn't let her down. After 40 years of working with his hands, after raising her alone, after building Briarwood Auto Repair from nothing, he couldn't let it end with his daughter being sent home because her father didn't have enough money. "I love you," he said softly. "I love you too," Lena whispered. "Please don't work yourself to death." Elias gave a short laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "I'll be okay. Go study. Call me later." He hung up and stared at the silent garage. No customers. No cars waiting. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and the sound of his own breathing. He walked to his desk, opened the drawer, and looked at the bills. Rent. Electric. Insurance. Parts. Everything was due. He shook his head, muttering under his breath, "Come on, Elias, think." And then, a sharp screech of tires cut through the quiet. Elias's head snapped up. A sleek black sedan swung into the lot too fast, steam curling from the hood like smoke from a warning fire. The car rolled to a stop. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. Elegant coat. Perfect hair. Jewelry that caught the fading sunlight. But her face. Her face was pure panic. She hurried toward him, heels clicking hard on the pavement. "Excuse me," she called. "Please, are you still open?" Elias blinked, surprised. "Technically I'm closing, but..." She reached him, breathless. "My car, it started overheating on the highway. I barely made it here. I don't know what to do." Elias's eyes flicked to the steaming hood. "Pop it open," he said. She fumbled with the latch, hands shaking. "I'm Naomi Whitmore," she blurted, like her name was supposed to explain everything. "I have an important meeting tomorrow morning. I can't be stranded." Elias didn't respond to the name. He only lifted the hood. Hot air rushed out. He leaned in, eyes sharp, scanning. It took him less than 10 seconds. He straightened slowly. "Radiator hoses cracked," he said. Naomi's eyes widened. "Is that bad?" Elias's voice was calm but firm. "It's very bad if you keep driving." She swallowed. "What happens if I do?" Elias pointed. "This hose carries coolant. Without it, your engine overheats. And if that engine overheats too long..." He paused. "You're looking at catastrophic damage. Thousands of dollars. Maybe a total loss." Naomi's face drained of color. "Oh my God." She pressed a hand to her forehead. "I can't afford for this to happen tonight. Tomorrow is everything." Elias studied her. "Everything?" Her lips trembled. "I'm finalizing a merger in the morning. It's taken 2 years. Hundreds of employees, their jobs depend on it." Elias nodded slowly. "All right." Naomi's eyes lit with hope. "So you can fix it?" Elias opened his mouth. Then stopped. His gaze shifted to his shelves. Empty spaces. He sighed. I can fix it, he admitted. But I don't have that hose in stock. Naomi's hope shattered instantly. What? But. The parts store closes at 6, Elias said. It's almost 7. Naomi stared at him like she hadn't heard correctly. So, what am I supposed to do? Her voice rose, panic creeping in. I can't miss tomorrow. I can't. Elias looked at her, then at the car, then back at her. He could have said no. He could have told her to call a tow truck. He could have locked the doors and gone home to his own problems. But something in her desperation, something in the way she said everything. It reminded him of Lena. Of tuition deadlines. Of dreams hanging by a thread. Elias exhaled slowly. Wait here, he said. Naomi blinked. What? He walked toward the back of the garage. Behind the main bay sat an old rusted sedan he'd been parting out for months. A junk car. A lifeline of spare parts. He crouched beside it, rummaging through hoses, clamps, scraps. Naomi followed cautiously. What are you doing? She asked. Elias didn't look up. I'm seeing if I can make something work. You can do that, she whispered. Elias snorted. When you've been doing this 40 years, you learn 2 things. 1, cars don't care about your schedule. And 2, sometimes you fix what you have, not what you want. Naomi watched as he pulled out an older hose, cracked but salvageable. He held it up, measuring. This won't be perfect, he muttered. But I can modify it. Naomi's voice softened. You do that, for me? Elias glanced at her. You need to get to your meeting. Naomi swallowed. And you need to go home. Elias's jaw tightened. Home can wait. He carried the hose to his workbench and began cutting carefully. Naomi stood nearby, quiet. Minutes passed. Then she spoke again, hesitant. You really don't have to. Elias didn't stop working. You ever been desperate? Naomi's lips parted, but no answer came. Elias continued. I have. Desperate enough to pray for one person to show up. One customer. One break. Naomi looked down. I suppose. I have been. Elias glanced at her jewelry, then back to her eyes. Not for money, he said. For something else. Naomi's voice dropped. For control. Elias nodded once. Yeah. Silence again. Only the sound of tools. After a while, Naomi asked softly, Why do you do this? Work this hard. Elias tightened a clamp, muscles tense. Because I'm good at it. That's it. Elias finally looked at her fully. I built this garage with my own hands. 23 years ago, I didn't have a penny to my name. People told me trades were dying. That I should have gone to college. He chuckled bitterly. But this kept food on the table. This raised my daughter. Naomi's expression shifted. You have a daughter? Elias's eyes softened immediately. Lena. She's in college. Naomi's face warmed. That's wonderful. Elias's smile faded. It's expensive. Naomi nodded slowly. How much? Elias hesitated. He didn't like talking about his struggles. But something about the quiet garage, the late hour. He exhaled. 2,000 short by tomorrow. Naomi's eyes widened. Oh. Elias shrugged like it didn't matter, but his voice cracked slightly. She's smart. Hardworking. She deserves better than what I can give her. Naomi's throat tightened. You're giving her everything, she whispered. Elias didn't answer. He returned to the repair, hands steady despite the ache in his chest. Naomi stood there, watching a man who had nothing spare, still giving. After another long silence, she spoke again. I run a foundation, she said quietly. Elias raised an eyebrow. A foundation. Naomi nodded. We provide microloans and mentorship to small businesses. Help them grow. Elias's mouth twitched. That sounds nice. It is, Naomi said quickly. Or it was supposed to be. Elias glanced at her. What changed? Naomi looked away. Somewhere along the line, it became about numbers. Reports. Publicity. Big partnerships. Her voice grew heavier. I forgot the people. Elias wiped his hands. Well, he said simply, you're standing in front of one now. Naomi swallowed hard. She looked around the modest garage. The worn tools. The faded sign. The man with grease-stained hands working late into the night. And for the first time in a long time, Naomi Whitmore felt something shift inside her. By 9:30 p.m., Elias stepped back. He turned the key. The engine hummed smoothly. Naomi gasped in relief. It's working. Elias nodded, exhausted. It'll get you through tomorrow. After that, replace it properly. Naomi turned to him, eyes shining. You saved me. Elias shook his head. I fixed a hose. Naomi reached into her purse immediately, pulling out cash. This is at least $500 of labor. Please. Elias held up a hand. No. Naomi froze. What? I'm not charging labor, he said firmly. Her mouth fell open. That's ridiculous. You worked for hours. Elias's voice softened. You've got a big day tomorrow. Just, go. Naomi's eyes shimmered. At least let me pay something. Elias hesitated. Then quietly said, 60 for parts. Naomi stared at him. That's all? Elias nodded. Naomi slowly placed the money in his hand. Her fingers lingered. You have no idea what this means, she whispered. Elias gave a tired smile. Just don't blow the engine. Naomi let out a shaky laugh, wiping at her eyes. I won't. She walked to her car, then paused. She turned back. Mr. Carter. Elias. Elias, she corrected softly. Thank you. He nodded. And she drove away into the night. Elias stood alone in the lot, the cool air settling around him. For the first time that day, he felt something close to hope. Maybe tomorrow would be better. Maybe kindness still mattered. He locked up the garage and headed home, unaware that the next morning, that same kindness would come back like a knife and destroy him. The next morning, Elias Carter woke up with the kind of ache that lived deep in a man's bones. His shoulders were stiff from working late. His hands were sore. But when he thought about Naomi's relieved face driving away, he felt something warmer than exhaustion. He had done the right thing. That mattered. He brewed cheap coffee in his small kitchen, staring at the chipped mug Lena had painted for him when she was 10. He checked his phone. No new messages. He sighed. All right, he muttered. Let's see what today brings. By 7:30 a.m., Elias was back at Briarwood Auto Repair. He rolled up the garage door, the familiar creak greeting him like an old friend. The street was quiet. He expected another slow day. He expected nothing. Then, a low rumble vibrated through the pavement. Elias looked up. At first, he thought it was a delivery truck. But then he saw them. Black SUVs. One after another. A convoy turning into his lot like something out of a movie. Elias's brow furrowed. What in the world? The vehicles stopped. Doors opened. Men stepped out. Not customers. Not mechanics. Suits. Dark uniforms. And then, he saw flashing lights. Police cars. His stomach dropped so fast it felt like the ground disappeared beneath him. The last SUV door opened slowly. And Naomi Whitmore stepped out. She looked different from the night before. No panic. No gratitude. Her face was pale, her jaw tight, her eyes sharp with something Elias couldn't name. Confusion prickled up his spine. He wiped his hands on a rag and walked forward cautiously. He called. Is everything all right with the car? Naomi didn't answer. Instead, she turned slightly. A tall officer approached, his hand resting near his belt. Officer Daniels. His voice was official, cold. Elias Carter? Elias blinked. Yes, that's me. Officer Daniels nodded once. Sir, you're under arrest. The words didn't make sense. Elias actually laughed, one short confused sound. Arrest? For what? Naomi's voice cut through like ice. For theft. Elias froze. Officer Daniels continued. Naomi Whitmore has filed a report stating that several pieces of expensive jewelry went missing from her vehicle last night while it was in your possession. Elias stared at him, then at Naomi. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. What? No. That's not. Naomi stepped forward, trembling with controlled anger. My diamond bracelet, she said. A sapphire necklace. 2 rings. Elias's face drained. I never touched anything in your car. Naomi's eyes flashed. You were alone with it for 3 hours. Elias shook his head rapidly. I was under the hood. I was fixing the hose. I didn't even sit inside. Officer Daniels raised a hand. Sir, turn around. Elias's heart began pounding. No, he said, voice cracking. No, listen, this is a mistake. Naomi's voice rose. A mistake? Those pieces are worth more than this entire building. Elias flinched like she'd slapped him. I helped you, he whispered. I stayed late. I refused payment. Naomi's lips pressed together. And now I see why. Elias stared at her, stunned. You think I did this for jewelry? Naomi's eyes glistened. I don't know what to think. I got home, opened my case, and they were gone. Elias took a step closer, desperate. Then someone else took them. Maybe before you even came here. Naomi cut him off. They were in my car. I know they were. Officer Daniels stepped forward again. Sir, place your hands behind your back. Elias's breathing became ragged. People were starting to gather. A man from across the street. A woman walking her dog. Whispers began immediately. That's Elias. He's being arrested. No way. Elias looked around wildly. This is insane, he shouted. I didn't steal anything. Naomi's voice shook. Then where are they, Elias? Hearing his name from her mouth felt like betrayal sharpened into a blade. Elias swallowed hard. I don't know, he whispered. But I swear to God, I didn't take them. Officer Daniels grabbed his arm. Cold metal snapped around Elias's wrists. Handcuffs. The sound echoed louder than it should have. Elias's knees nearly buckled. Naomi watched, her expression twisted between anger and uncertainty. Elias's voice broke. You're doing this, after last night? Naomi's chin lifted. My jewelry is gone. Elias was pulled toward the police car. He twisted his head back. He shouted. Please. Think about what you're doing. Naomi's eyes flickered. But she said nothing. The door slammed. And Elias Carter, the man who had worked honestly his entire life, was driven away like a criminal. Inside the car, Elias's breath came in shallow gasps. Officer Daniels spoke without looking at him. If you cooperate, it'll go easier. Elias laughed bitterly. Cooperate? I didn't do anything. Officer Daniels's voice stayed flat. That's what they all say. Elias stared out the window as his garage disappeared behind them. His life. His reputation. Everything he built. Gone in minutes. At the station, the process was humiliating. Fingerprinting. Photos. A cell. Elias sat on a cold bench, staring at his cuffed hands. His mind replayed the night. Naomi's gratitude. Her tears. Her handshake. How could she stand there and accuse him? A door opened. Officer Daniels entered with a folder. Your arraignment is tomorrow morning. Elias's voice was hoarse. Can I call my daughter? Officer Daniels hesitated, then nodded. Elias's hands shook as he dialed. Lena answered immediately. Dad? You okay? Elias swallowed hard. Lena. Her voice sharpened. What's wrong? He closed his eyes. I need you to listen carefully. Minutes later, Lena was sobbing through the phone. No, Dad, that's impossible. You would never. I know, Elias whispered. I know. What do I do? Elias's throat tightened. Find a lawyer. Please. Lena's voice cracked. I don't have money for that. Elias's stomach twisted. He whispered, neither do I. The next morning, the courtroom felt unreal. Elias stood in a borrowed suit that didn't fit right, wrist still bruised. Naomi sat across the room, composed, surrounded by attorneys. Elias had one public defender who looked exhausted before the case even began. Judge Harland entered. The gavel struck. This court is now in session. The prosecutor spoke confidently. Your Honor, the defendant had exclusive access to Ms. Whitmore's vehicle for several hours. Shortly after, jewelry valued at over $200,000 went missing. Elias's breath caught. $200,000. His entire life wasn't worth that. The prosecutor continued. The defendant is a struggling mechanic with financial pressures. He refused payment. Perhaps because he already took what he wanted. Elias's face burned. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Judge Harland turned toward Naomi. Ms. Whitmore, please testify. Naomi stood. Her voice was smooth but emotional. I was desperate, she said. My car was overheating. Mr. Carter was kind, but when I returned home, my jewelry was gone. Elias whispered, no. Naomi's eyes flicked toward him. I didn't want to believe it, she continued. But no one else had access. Elias's public defender rose. Ms. Whitmore, are you certain the jewelry was in the car before you arrived at the garage? Naomi hesitated. Yes, she said firmly. I'm certain. Elias clenched his fists. The defender pressed. Did you stop anywhere else that evening? Naomi's brow furrowed. I stopped briefly at a car wash earlier in the day. The prosecutor objected immediately. Irrelevant. Judge Harlan nodded. Sustained. Elias's heart pounded. Car wash. Car wash. Why did that matter? His defender looked defeated. Without evidence, it was just his word against hers. And her word carried wealth, power, and polish. The prosecutor leaned in. Mr. Carter, you claim you did not steal the jewelry. Elias spoke, voice trembling. I didn't. I fixed her car. That's all. The prosecutor smirked. And yet you refused payment. Elias swallowed. I was trying to be kind. The prosecutor's tone sharpened. Or you were trying to avoid suspicion. Elias's voice rose. No. I have a daughter. I have worked my whole life. I would never. Judge Harlan banged the gavel. Order. Elias's breath came fast. He looked at Naomi. Tell them, he pleaded softly. Tell them you know me. Tell them you felt my sincerity. Naomi's lips parted. Her eyes wavered. For a moment, it looked like she might speak. Then she looked away. The trial moved quickly. Too quickly. Circumstantial evidence. Assumptions. Bias dressed up as certainty. And finally, Judge Harlan spoke. Mr. Carter, given the testimony and lack of alternative explanation, this court finds you guilty. The words hit Elias like a sledgehammer. Lena cried out from the back. Dad. Elias's knees went weak. Judge Harlan continued. You are sentenced to 3 years in state prison. The gavel slammed. Elias's world shattered. As officers grabbed him, Elias turned toward Naomi one last time. His voice was broken. You destroyed me. Naomi flinched. Tears brimmed in her eyes. But she whispered only one thing. I'm sorry. Elias was led away. And the man who had shown kindness became a prisoner. If you're still here, take a second and hit that like button. Because what happens in the next part will make your blood boil. Comment below right now, do you think Elias will ever get justice? Because the next 3 years will test everything he believes about goodness, truth, and survival. White up pointing backhand index. Elias Carter had always believed prison was for people who deserved it. He had spent his whole life working honestly, paying taxes, fixing engines, raising his daughter with dignity. So when the steel doors clanged shut behind him, when the sound echoed down the corridor like the final note of a life ending, his mind couldn't accept it. He stood there in a gray uniform that smelled like bleach and despair, staring at the floor. 3 years. 3 years for something he didn't do. A guard shoved him forward. Move. Elias stumbled, catching himself. He wanted to scream. He wanted to tell them they were wrong. But the truth didn't matter here. Only power did. The first night was the hardest. The cell was small. Cold. The mattress thin. A man on the top bunk snored like a growling animal. Elias lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing distant shouts and metal banging. His hands still felt phantom cuffs. His chest still felt Naomi's accusation like a bruise. He whispered into the darkness, God, please. No answer came. The next morning, he was marched into the yard with other inmates. Men with hard eyes. Men with stories carved into scars. Elias kept his head down. He wasn't built for this place. A tall inmate stepped into his path. Well, look at this, the man said with a crooked grin. Fresh meat. Elias swallowed. I'm just trying to get through my time, he said quietly. The man laughed. Aren't we all? Another inmate leaned in. What you in for, old man? Elias hesitated. He hated saying it. I was accused of theft. The tall inmate's eyebrows rose. Theft? That's it. Elias nodded. The man scoffed. Must have been some expensive stuff. Elias's jaw tightened. It was jewelry. I didn't take it. The yard went quiet for a beat. Then the tall inmate chuckled. Sure you didn't. Elias felt heat rise in his face. I'm telling the truth. The inmate stepped closer, voice low. Truth doesn't matter in here. Only what they say you are. He tapped Elias's chest. And right now, you're just another criminal. He walked away laughing. Elias stood frozen, his stomach twisting. That night, he wrote his first letter to Lena. His hands shook as he held the pencil. Baby girl. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how we got here. But I need you to stay strong. Please don't let this break you. I am innocent, Lena. I swear it. Don't stop believing in me. I love you more than anything. Dad. He folded the paper carefully like it was fragile hope. Weeks passed. Then months. Prison time moved strangely. Days dragged like chains. Years threatened to disappear in blinks. Elias learned quickly how to survive. Keep quiet. Stay respectful. Don't trust easily. He worked in the prison workshop repairing broken equipment, because even behind bars, his hands still knew how to fix things. Other inmates began to come to him quietly. My radio's busted. My fan stopped working. Elias would nod. I'll take a look. Fixing was the only thing that made him feel human. One afternoon, an older inmate sat beside him. You're the mechanic, here? Elias glanced up. The man's face was weathered, his eyes tired. Yeah. The inmate nodded. Name's Curtis. Elias offered a small handshake. Elias. Curtis studied him. You don't belong here. Elias gave a bitter smile. Tell that to the judge. Curtis leaned back. What really happened? Elias hesitated, then told him. About Naomi. About the hose. About the jewelry. Curtis listened carefully, expression darkening. When Elias finished, Curtis muttered, rich people. Elias's eyes flickered. You think she lied? Curtis shrugged. Maybe she believed it. Maybe she needed someone to blame. Elias's voice cracked. I saved her. I stayed late. I refused money. Curtis nodded slowly. Sometimes kindness makes people uncomfortable. They don't know what to do with it. Elias stared at the concrete floor. I just want my life back. Curtis's voice softened. Hold on to that. Outside prison, Lena fought her own battle. She worked 2 jobs. She begged the university for extensions. She attended hearings, appealed decisions, wrote letters to anyone who would listen. But without money. Without influence. She was shouting into the wind. One night, she visited Elias through the thick glass. Her face was thinner. Her eyes hollowed by exhaustion. Elias pressed the phone to his ear. Lena. She smiled weakly. Hi, Dad. His throat tightened. How are you? Lena's laugh was broken. How do you think? Elias swallowed hard. I'm so sorry. Lena's eyes filled with tears. You didn't do anything wrong. Elias shook his head. I should have never stayed late. I should have. Stop, Lena snapped suddenly, emotion spilling out. Stop blaming yourself for being a good person. Elias froze. Lena wiped her cheeks angrily. I hate her, she whispered. Elias's stomach clenched. Don't. She ruined us, Lena said. She ruined everything. Elias's voice was gentle. Hate will ruin you too. Lena's breath shook. How do you still talk like that? Elias stared at her, eyes shining. Because if I lose who I am, then she really wins. Lena pressed her hand against the glass. I miss you. Elias pressed his own hand against it, separated by inches that felt like miles. I'm still here, he whispered. The years crawled. Naomi Whitmore, meanwhile, moved forward. Her merger succeeded. Her company grew. Her foundation expanded. She gave speeches about supporting small businesses. People applauded. Cameras flashed. But sometimes, late at night, she would sit alone in her penthouse, staring at the city lights. And she would remember Elias's hands. Grease-stained. Honest. Working late. Refusing payment. A strange unease lived in her chest. One evening, Naomi stood in front of her jewelry case. The empty spaces still haunted her. She whispered, why would he do that? Her assistant entered. Ms. Whitmore? The foundation gala is next week. Naomi nodded absently. Fine. The assistant hesitated. Are you all right? Naomi forced a smile. Of course. But she wasn't. Something didn't make sense. The night of the overheating car. She remembered stopping earlier. Grieg's luxury auto wash. They had vacuumed the interior. Cleaned the seats. She had been distracted, rushing. Had she left the jewelry case open? Had someone? Naomi's stomach tightened. She shook her head. No. Elias was guilty. The court said so. But doubt is a stubborn thing. It grows quietly, like a crack in a foundation. 2 years into Elias's sentence, Naomi attended a charity luncheon. A speaker talked about wrongful convictions. The words hit Naomi like ice water. Innocent people are imprisoned every day because assumptions replace evidence. Naomi's breath caught. Her fingers tightened around her glass. Assumptions. Exclusive access. Circumstantial. She excused herself abruptly, heart pounding. In the restroom, she stared at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked flawless. But her eyes looked afraid. What if, she whispered. What if I was wrong? She returned home that night and pulled up her old calendar. The day of the incident. Her meeting schedule. Her stops. And there it was. 3:10 p.m., Grieg's Luxury Auto Wash. Her throat went dry. She had dismissed it. The judge dismissed it. But what if? Naomi picked up her phone, hesitated, then called her security chief. I need you to look into something, she said. His voice was cautious. Of course. What is it? Naomi swallowed. That day, before my car went to Briarwood Auto Repair, I was at Grieg's Auto Wash. A pause. And? Naomi's voice trembled. I want footage. Records. Employees. Everything. The chief hesitated. Ms. Whitmore, why now? Naomi's eyes burned. Because I can't sleep. The investigation began quietly. Days later, her chief returned, face grim. We found something. Naomi's heart slammed. What? The chief placed a tablet on her desk. Security footage from Grieg's Auto Wash. Naomi's hands shook as she watched. There was her car. Employees moving around it. One worker opened the passenger door. Another leaned inside. Then, a quick glance around. A hand slipping something small into a pocket. Naomi's breath stopped. Her mouth fell open. No. The chief's voice was low. There have been other reports. Valuables missing. Complaints buried. Naomi's body went cold. Oh my God. Tears sprang to her eyes. I accused the wrong man. The chief nodded slowly. Yes. Naomi covered her mouth, a sob escaping. Elias Carter. The mechanic. The man who fixed her car for free. The man she destroyed. She whispered, how long? The chief answered quietly. Almost 3 years. Naomi's knees buckled. She sank into her chair, shaking. I ruined his life. Her voice cracked into a whisper. I ruined his daughter's life. The chief asked carefully, what do you want to do? Naomi looked up, tears streaming. What do you think? The next morning, Naomi walked into the district attorney's office like a woman walking to her own execution. She placed the evidence on the table. This case needs to be reopened, she said. The attorney frowned. Ms. Whitmore. Mr. Carter was convicted. Naomi's voice rose. He was innocent. The attorney hesitated. This is serious. Naomi slammed her palm down. So was sending an innocent man to prison. Silence filled the room. The attorney finally nodded. We'll review. Weeks later, Elias was called into the warden's office. He stood stiffly, confused. The warden cleared his throat. Carter, your case is being revisited. Elias blinked. What? The warden's expression was unreadable. New evidence has surfaced. Elias's heart began to pound. What evidence? The warden leaned forward. The jewelry theft may not have occurred at your garage. Elias froze. His breath caught like someone had grabbed his lungs. Are you saying? The warden nodded slowly. You may be exonerated. Elias's knees nearly gave out. 3 years. 3 years of pain. Of humiliation. Of lost time. And suddenly, a crack of light. Elias whispered, Lena. If you've made it this far, don't go anywhere, because the final part is where justice finally comes full circle. Hit like if you believe Elias deserves freedom. Comment right now, what would you do if someone ruined your life with one accusation? White up pointing backhand index. Elias Carter didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his prison bunk, staring at the floor, his heart pounding like it was trying to break free. Exonerated. The word didn't feel real. It felt dangerous to believe. For 3 years, hope had been a thing he couldn't afford. Hope was something that made the days hurt more. But now the warden had said it. New evidence. Revisited. Maybe innocent. Elias pressed his hands to his face. He thought of Lena. Her tired eyes behind the glass. Her voice cracking when she said, "I miss you." He whispered into the darkness, "Please, let this be true." The next week moved in slow agony. Meetings. Paperwork. Lawyers speaking in careful tones. Elias sat in rooms where people discussed his life like it was a file on a desk. One morning, attorney Simone Reyes entered the prison visiting room. She was sharp-eyed, mid-30s, carrying herself with purpose. "Mr. Carter?" she asked. Elias stood. "Yes." She extended her hand. "I'm Simone Reyes. I've been assigned to your case." Elias's throat tightened. "You believe me?" Simone's expression softened. "I've seen the footage." Elias blinked. "Footage?" Simone nodded. The jewelry was stolen at Grieg's luxury auto wash. Employees were running a theft operation for months. Elias's breath left him in a shaky exhale. "So, Naomi." Simone's jaw tightened. She was wrong. And the court was wrong. Elias's hands trembled. "I lost everything," he whispered. Simone's voice was firm. "And we're going to fight to get it back." For the first time in 3 years, Elias felt something stronger than survival. He felt anger. Not wild anger. But righteous anger. "What happens now?" he asked. Simone leaned forward. "We file for an emergency hearing. The conviction will be overturned." Elias swallowed. "And then?" Simone's eyes held his. "Then we go after damages." Elias let out a broken laugh. "Damages? How do you measure 3 years?" Simone's voice dropped. "You don't. But you make them pay enough that they never forget what they did." The hearing was scheduled fast. The state didn't want scandal. Naomi Whitmore didn't want scandal. But scandal was coming either way. On the day Elias returned to court, his legs felt weak beneath him. The same courtroom. The same walls. The same judge. But everything felt different. Judge Harlan sat at the bench, older somehow. The prosecutor's face was tense. The gallery was packed. Media cameras. Reporters whispering. And in the front row, Lena. Elias's breath caught when he saw her. She looked older. Stronger. But her eyes were still his little girl's eyes. They met across the room. Lena pressed a hand to her mouth, tears spilling instantly. Elias's vision blurred. He wanted to run to her. Instead, he stood still, hands clasped, waiting. Judge Harlan cleared his throat. "This court is reconvened in the matter of Elias Carter." The prosecutor rose reluctantly. "Your Honor, new evidence has emerged that calls into question the original conviction." Simone stood. "Not calls into question," she said sharply. "Destroys it." The courtroom murmured. Simone continued. "Security footage has been recovered showing the theft occurred at Grieg's luxury auto wash hours before Ms. Whitmore ever arrived at Mr. Carter's garage." Judge Harlan's face tightened. Simone held up a tablet. "Employees have confessed. An entire operation of theft from luxury clients." The judge exhaled slowly. "And Ms. Whitmore?" Simone's gaze flicked toward Naomi. Naomi sat in the front row, pale, hands clenched in her lap. Simone spoke firmly. "Ms. Whitmore's accusation was incorrect. Mr. Carter was innocent." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. Judge Harlan's voice was heavy. "Mr. Carter, please stand." Elias rose, knees trembling. Judge Harlan looked down at him. "This court finds that a grave miscarriage of justice occurred." Elias's breath stopped. "The conviction is hereby overturned." The words hit like thunder. Gasps filled the room. Lena sobbed openly. Judge Harlan continued. "Mr. Carter, you are free to go." For a second. Elias didn't move. He couldn't. "Free?" Simone touched his arm gently. "It's over," she whispered. Elias's knees buckled. He gripped the table, shaking. Lena rushed forward before anyone could stop her. "Dad." She threw her arms around him, clinging like she was afraid he'd disappear again. Elias held her so tightly his arms ached. "I'm here," he whispered into her hair. "I'm here." Lena cried, "I never stopped believing you." Elias's voice cracked. "I'm so sorry." "Stop," Lena whispered fiercely. "Just, stop. You're home." Naomi stood slowly, trembling. Her voice was barely audible. "Mr. Carter." Elias turned. His eyes met hers. The room went silent. Naomi's lips quivered. "I." She swallowed hard. "I accused you. I destroyed you." Elias stared at her, emotion burning behind his eyes. Naomi stepped closer, tears streaming. I was wrong. I was careless. And because of me, you lost 3 years. Lena's grip tightened around Elias. Elias's voice was low, raw. 3 years I'll never get back. Naomi nodded, sobbing. I know. She looked at Lena. And your daughter. I'm so sorry. Lena's eyes were sharp. Sorry doesn't fix what you did. Naomi flinched. Elias raised a hand gently toward Lena, calming her. Then he looked back at Naomi. Why now? He asked hoarsely. Why did you finally look? Naomi's voice broke. Because I couldn't live with it anymore. Elias let out a bitter laugh. I lived with it every day. Naomi whispered, I know. Simone stepped forward. Ms. Whitmore, the state will be pursuing charges against Griggs Auto Wash employees. And Mr. Carter will be filing a civil suit. Naomi nodded immediately. Whatever it takes. I'll pay. I'll do anything. Simone's eyes were cold. You can't undo prison. Naomi's shoulders shook. I know. But I can try to repair what I broke. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Mr. Carter. How does it feel to be free? Elias blinked against the sunlight. It felt too bright. Too unreal. He held Lena's hand tightly. His voice was quiet but firm. It feels like waking up from a nightmare I didn't deserve. Another reporter shouted, Do you forgive Naomi Whitmore? Elias paused. He looked at Naomi standing a few steps away, her face crumpled with guilt. Forgiveness. The word tasted complicated. Elias spoke slowly. I don't know yet. That honesty hit harder than anger. The lawsuit moved quickly. The footage was undeniable. The state wanted to avoid a bigger scandal. Naomi's lawyers advised settlement. Simone fought like a storm. At the final mediation meeting, Naomi sat across from Elias, hands clasped tightly. Her voice trembled. I've agreed to full compensation. Simone slid documents forward. Restoration of his business. Lost income. Emotional damages. A public apology. Naomi nodded. And more. Elias's brow furrowed. What more? Naomi swallowed. A scholarship fund, for children of tradespeople. Elias's breath caught. Naomi's eyes shone. I heard you talk about your daughter that night. About how hard you worked. I want to honor that. Lena stiffened. You want to honor it after ruining it. Naomi's voice cracked. I can't change the past. But I refuse to let my mistake be the end of his story. Elias stared at her. For a long moment, silence held the room. Finally, Elias spoke softly. My garage is gone. Naomi nodded. I know. It closed after your arrest. Elias's jaw tightened. That garage was my life. Naomi leaned forward, voice shaking. Then let me rebuild it. Months later, Briarwood Auto Repair looked different. New paint. New lifts. New tools. A new sign. Carter Automotive and Trade Center. Young apprentices moved through the bays, learning. Lena stood beside Elias, smiling through tears. You did it, Dad. Elias's voice was quiet. We did. One afternoon, Naomi visited. No cameras. No entourage. Just her. She stepped into the garage cautiously. Elias wiped his hands and approached. Naomi's eyes were soft. How are you? Elias studied her. Breathing, he said honestly. Naomi nodded. I don't expect forgiveness. Elias's gaze drifted to the apprentices. You know what prison taught me? He asked. Naomi shook her head. That kindness doesn't always come back fast, Elias said. Sometimes it gets punished first. Naomi's eyes filled again. I'm sorry. Elias exhaled. But truth, he continued, truth always comes back eventually. Naomi whispered, thank you for not hating me. Elias's voice was low. Hate would have kept me in prison longer. Naomi nodded, tears slipping down. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to do better. Elias held her gaze. Then do it. For real. That night, Elias sat at home, the first real home he'd felt in years. His phone buzzed. A message from Lena. Dad. I graduated. With honors. We made it. Elias stared at the screen until tears blurred the words. He whispered, we made it. He leaned back, looking at his hands. Hands that fixed cars. Hands that were cuffed. hands that were still here. And he understood something deeper than pain. Excellence wasn't about wealth, or power, or jewelry. It was about what you chose to do when no one was watching. And kindness, even when delayed, still had a way of returning. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Truth always wins. Because you never know who needs to hear this message today.